The cold vastness of space was silent, except for the soft hum of an alien spaceship cutting through the darkness. It was massive and sleek, moving like a shadow toward a small blue planet below, Earth. The ship's occupants, an advanced alien race known as the Thalver, had watched this world for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment. Now their mission was clear. Inside the ship, a council of alien leaders gathered around a glowing table filled with star maps and data streams. Their pale eyes flickered with concern and curiosity as they discussed the next step. On the table, a small human infant slept, wrapped in a soft blanket that seemed fragile compared to the cold metal surroundings. This child was unlike any they had seen before. Not just another human. They believed he held the key to changing the fate of their crumbling empire. Far below on Earth, the child's family was caught in chaos. Fires burned in the distance as sirens screamed and walls of force rose, trapping millions behind invisible barriers. The child's mother held him close, whispering soothing words, tears streaming down her face. "Stay strong, my love. We will find you." The sounds of destruction and despair were deafening. But for this moment, her world was only the warmth of the child in her arms. Back on the ship, the alien leaders argued. Some believed the child should be kept safe, nurtured to unlock his hidden powers. Others saw him as a threat, an unknown element that could destabilize their carefully controlled world. One leader, a tall figure with silver skin and sharp features named Vralkesh, spoke with quiet authority. "He is not just a human. His mind, it is different. We have never seen anything like this in our studies. Killing him could be a mistake." Another voice, harsh and cold, interrupted. "He is a weapon waiting to ignite. We cannot gamble our future on a child from a dying planet." The tension grew as the debate heated, but none dared to move the baby. For now, he was protected by the mystery surrounding him. As the ship cruised farther from Earth, the child suddenly stirred. His tiny hands twitched, and his eyes snapped open. The soft glow of the ship's interior seemed to bend around him, shadows twisting unnaturally. The alien guards froze, sensing something wrong. The infant's gaze locked onto Vralkesh, and the room filled with an eerie silence. Then, without warning, the child raised his small hand. A sudden pulse of energy burst from his fingertips, knocking several nearby machines off balance. The lights flickered, alarms blared, and the leader stumbled back, shocked and fearful. This child was no ordinary human. He held power far beyond their understanding. Vralkesh stepped forward, eyes wide with mixture of fear and awe. What is this?" he whispered, reaching toward the child cautiously. The baby's cry filled the room, but it was different, deep, echoing, almost otherworldly. The council members looked at each other, realizing the stakes had changed forever. Suddenly, a memory flashed in the child's mind, a memory not his own but burned deep into his soul. A burning city, screams piercing the night, and the face of a woman crying for him to be safe. The child's eyes filled with tears as the past collided with the present. He was the last hope of a lost world, a symbol of something greater than survival. Vralkesh spoke softly. "We must protect him. Whatever this is, it is our future." As the ship sailed further into the void, carrying the stolen child away from Earth, the alien leaders prepared for what lay ahead. But none could foresee the storm that this small human would unleash, not just on their empire, but across the stars themselves. The ship's engines hummed, and the stars outside twinkled like distant promises. Somewhere deep inside the child, a fire had awakened, one that would burn through the lies, the shadows, and the silence. The galaxy was about to remember the stolen child, and no one would ever forget his name. The council's fear grew, but so did their hope. This child, snatched from a dying world, was no longer just a prisoner. He was a spark, a promise, a weapon cloaked in innocence, and the universe would soon tremble at the sound of his awakening. In the silent room where the baby lay, a single starburst of light flared in his eyes. A flicker of power and destiny mingled in that small gaze. The stolen child was beginning to rise. The leaders whispered in hushed tones, realizing the depth of what they had taken. But none could guess the full weight of the secret the child carried. A secret written in the ashes of Earth, waiting to ignite the galaxy in ways no one could imagine. As the ship slipped further into the endless black, the child's strange powers began to pulse steadily, resonating with the ship's systems, awakening dormant codes hidden deep within. Something ancient stirred, a memory, a force, a soul connected to Earth's past and the universe's future. The baby smiled faintly, a smile that was far too knowing for someone so small. Somewhere inside him, the silent promise of a coming storm grew louder. Outside, stars watched quietly as the stolen child began his journey. Not just across space, but toward an empire that would never be the same again. The stars outside the ship's windows shimmered like distant fires, endless and cold. Inside, the small human child no longer looked like the frightened infant who had been stolen from Earth. He had grown taller, stronger, his eyes holding a deep intelligence that seemed far beyond his years. The Thalver had given him a new name, Zarin, and with it, a new identity. But deep inside, something pure and unbroken still clung to the memories of a faraway planet called Earth. Zarin moved through the alien halls with a quiet confidence. The polished floors reflected the soft glow of lights, and the air buzzed with distant voices and the hum of machines. Every day was a lesson, a test in this strange new world. His alien teachers watched him closely, surprised by how quickly he learned their complex languages and systems. But even as he adapted, Zarin never forgot the stories his mother whispered to him in dreams. The green fields, the blue skies, and the family he had lost. At night, when the stars outside the windows seemed to call to him, Zarin would close his eyes and remember the gentle touch of his mother's hand, the warmth of his home, and the fear of the moment he was taken. Those memories were fragile, but fiercely alive in his heart. The alien council, meanwhile, was divided. Some saw Zarin as a symbol of hope, a bridge between their dying empire and a future reborn. Others whispered in shadowed corners, fearful of the power growing inside him. The Thalver were a race built on strategy and strength, and power struggles were inevitable. As Zarin grew, so did the tensions around him. One day, as Zarin trained in a high-gravity chamber, his body moving with fluid grace through impossible exercises, a group of leaders gathered in secret. Their voices were low and urgent. "He must be eliminated," hissed one, a dark-skinned warrior with scars lining his face. "If he is allowed to live, he will upset everything we have built." "But he is protected by the oldest codes," another whispered, eyes darting. "Killing him openly would start a war." The plan was set in motion quietly, shadows moving beneath the surface. Assassins were sent to strike when the moment was right. That night, Zarin was alone in the training hall. His senses were sharp. Something felt wrong. Suddenly, the silence shattered. Figures emerged from the shadows, weapons glowing with deadly intent. The air crackled with tension as the attackers closed in. Zarin's mind raced. He was ready. In a flash, he moved with impossible speed, dodging strikes and countering with power no human or alien should possess. His hands glowed with energy, a force born from deep within. The room filled with flashes of light and the sound of combat, but more than strength, it was his heart that drove him. He remembered the faces of his lost family, the hope they had placed in him. Each movement was fueled by a promise to survive, to return to the truth of who he was. The battle was fierce. One by one, the assassins fell, but the last one reached for a hidden blade aimed at Zarin's back. Time slowed as Zarin turned just in time, energy bursting from his palm, and sending the attacker crashing into the wall. Breathing hard, Zarin looked around. The threat was gone, but he knew this was only the beginning. The factions that sought his death would not stop. He was a symbol now, a spark that could ignite war or hope. Later, as he lay in the small chamber that had become his refuge, Zarin's thoughts drifted back to Earth. In his mind, he saw a flashback, his mother's face glowing softly in the moonlight, her voice a whisper carried on the wind. "Remember who you are," she said. "No matter where you go, you carry Earth inside you." Tears welled up in his eyes, but they were tears of strength, not sorrow. He was more than a child stolen from a dying world. He was a survivor, a fighter, and maybe one day, an emperor. Outside, the alien skies darkened as distant ships moved through the galaxy. Powers both seen and unseen were shifting. Zarin's enemies watched and waited, but so did those who believed in his destiny. In the quiet darkness, the small human who had been taken from Earth smiled. His journey had only just begun. Stars shone cold and distant outside the massive window of the rebel base. Inside, the young man once stolen from Earth paced back and forth, his mind racing with thoughts of who he truly was. Zarin, the name given to him by his alien captors, felt more like a chain than a new identity. Deep inside, he carried the memories of a place called Earth, the blue skies, the laughter of children, the warmth of family, that no alien law could erase. He had grown strong and skilled, but strength alone was not enough. Zarin wanted justice, not just for himself, but for all humans who had been hidden, erased, or forgotten by the alien empire. He knew that the Council feared the truth of Earth's power and history. They feared what he might become. In secret, Zarin began to gather others, those who still remember the old stories, those who believed in change. Quiet whispers in the dark halls spoke of rebellion. His closest allies were not all human. Some were aliens who had seen the cruelty of their leaders and wanted to fight for a new future. One night, as the base's dim lights flickered, Zarin sat alone, his thoughts drifting back to a childhood memory. He saw his mother's face, smiling beneath the tall trees of Earth. The scent of fresh rain, the sound of birdsong, it all came rushing back. That world seemed so far away, yet it was a fire that lit his spirit. He clenched his fists. He was not just a stolen child. He was the hope of a hidden world. News reached him that the alien emperor had declared new laws, tighter control, harsher punishments for those who spoke of Earth. The rebellion had to move faster. Time was running out. In a secret meeting, Zarin's allies gathered around a glowing map of the galaxy. They planned their strikes carefully, aiming to weaken the emperor's grip without sparking total war too soon. Trust was scarce. Betrayal could lurk behind any door. Among them was Lyra, an alien with sharp eyes and a secret past. She spoke quietly but with conviction. We fight not just for ourselves, but for the truth. They fear the history of Earth because it shows their lies. Zarin nodded. They erase my past, but they cannot erase what I carry inside. We will show them that Earth's story is not finished. As the rebellion's strength grew, Zarin faced danger from unexpected places. Assassins, spies, and traitors tried to stop him at every turn. Yet, with every challenge, his resolve hardened. One night, after a successful mission to rescue captured humans, Zarin found a hidden chamber deep beneath the rebel base. Inside, ancient data crystals shimmered with forgotten knowledge. As he touched one, a holographic image flickered to life. A recording from the earliest days of his life, a secret kept from him by the Empire. The recording revealed his true origin, the reasons why he had been taken from Earth, and the real power he held within his bloodline. The Empire had hidden this truth to keep him under control, to make sure he never realized his full potential. Shock and anger mixed in Zarin's heart. How many lies had he been told? How many pieces of his past were stolen or hidden? This was more than a personal betrayal. It was a betrayal of all humanity. The weight of the secret pressed down on him, but with it came a fierce determination. If the Empire wanted to hide the truth, he would bring it into the light. The rebellion was no longer just a fight for freedom. It was a fight to reclaim history itself. As Zarin left the chamber, a message crackled through the comm system. The Emperor knows we move against him. Prepare for war. The moment of reckoning was near. Zarin looked out the stars once more, knowing that the path ahead would be dangerous and filled with sacrifice. But he was ready. His past was no longer a mystery. Now it was his weapon. The rebellion had begun. The cold metal of the shuttle thrummed beneath his hands as Zarin stared out at the endless darkness of space. The stars seemed distant and cold, but his heart beat with fire. Each mission took him closer to the truth about Earth, the home he never truly knew but felt inside every breath. He was no longer just a child stolen from another world. He was a seeker, a warrior, a hope wrapped in shadows. Deep inside the alien territories, hidden vaults and abandoned ruins whispered secrets of Earth's past. Zarin had learned to read the strange alien scripts and decoded files, piecing together history long erased by the Empire's control. The technology he found was unlike anything the current galaxy knew. machines capable of healing, energy so pure it glowed like fire, and records of peaceful civilizations united by hope rather than fear. During a late night on the ship, alone with only the hum of machines, Zarin closed his eyes and heard a voice. It was soft, distant, but filled with warmth, the voice of his mother, calling him through the years. She spoke of Earth's skies, its green fields, and the dreams she had for him. The memory cut deep, a bittersweet reminder of a home ripped away. Tears pricked his eyes, but he swallowed them, knowing the fight had to go on. Back in the alien empire's capital, the leaders grew restless. The young man, they once called a stolen child, was now a symbol of unrest. Whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire through the marble halls. Some council members wanted to crush Zarin before his influence grew too large. Others secretly admired his courage and feared the path their empire had taken. Betrayal tangled with loyalty as plots twisted and turned behind closed doors. One powerful faction sought to use Zarin for their own gain, while another quietly planned to destroy him in the shadows. The empire was cracking, and the young man's rise in political power only made the fractures deeper. On one daring mission to a forgotten moon base, Zarin uncovered a hidden chamber filled with glowing artifacts and ancient records. As he sifted through the data, a message appeared on the cracked screen, coded, encrypted, and urgent. The symbols pulsed with energy, revealing a secret that could shake the entire galaxy. His heart pounded. This was no ordinary message. It spoke of a plan to erase entire planets, a web of lies that stretched across systems, and a hidden force watching from the dark. The Empire's true enemy was not just Earth or its rebels. It was a silent war waged behind the scenes, a game of survival where every move could mean death. Zarin's mind raced. Who sent the message? Was it a warning, a trap, or a call for help? He knew one thing for certain. This secret could change everything. Returning to the rebel base, Zarin shared the message with his closest allies. The room fell silent as the truth sank in. The galaxy's fate was far more fragile than anyone had realized. Trust was thin, and danger lurked in every corner. Yet, amidst the shadows of the past, a new light began to grow. Zarin's power was no longer just political. It was a beacon of hope for those who believed in freedom and truth. The Empire might have stolen his childhood, erased his history, and tried to silence him, but they had not won. The young man who once was a stolen child was now a force to be reckoned with. And with the secret message in hand, he prepared to face the darkness ahead. But the galaxy was watching, and the storm was coming. Zarin sat in the grand hall of the Imperial Palace, the weight of the galaxy resting on his shoulders. The crowd around him was vast, full of alien nobles, commanders, and diplomats, all eyes watching the new emperor. The throne was no longer just a seat of power. It was a symbol of change, hope, and hidden strength. From the day he was taken from Earth, Zarin had never imagined that he would sit here, commanding an empire that had ruled with fear and control for centuries. But the boy who once played in the fields of his lost home had grown into a man with a vision, one that could either save or destroy everything. The air was thick with tension as he spoke to council, his voice steady but filled with passion. This empire will no longer be ruled by fear. We will rebuild with justice. We will listen to the people, not silence them. We will learn from the past and create a future where every being has a voice. Whispers spread quickly through the halls. Some cheered with hope. Others sneered with anger. For years, the Empire's leaders had ruled with an iron fist. Reforms meant change, and change meant the end of their comfort. Late at night, alone in his chambers, Zarin closed his eyes and allowed memories of Earth to wash over him. He remembered running barefoot through green fields, the laughter of children playing simple games under a bright blue sky. He remembered the warmth of his mother's hug and the gentle voice of his father telling stories by the fire. Those moments of innocent joy fueled his determination. Earth was more than a planet. It was a feeling, a light he carried inside. But even as he pushed forward, enemies lurked in the shadows. Alien factions who had lost power feared the Emperor's vision. They whispered plans of assassination, betrayal, and chaos. They believed that if they could remove Zarin, the old order would return, stronger and more ruthless than ever. Aware of the danger, Zarin played a careful game. He surrounded himself with loyal friends who had stood by him since his earliest days. But he also invited former enemies into his circle, confusing those who watched too closely. Allies shifted like sand, and trust was a precious, rare thing. In one secret meeting, Zarin smiled calmly as a known traitor spoke harsh words. "You cannot change what you do not understand, Emperor." Zarin replied with quiet confidence. "Then I will learn, and I will change the galaxy in ways you cannot imagine." The Empire was a game of power and deception, and Zarin was learning to play it better than anyone else. Every move he made was carefully calculated to protect his true identity, the boy from Earth, the stolen child, the hope for a better future. But the clock was ticking. Rumors began to spread that the secret of his origin would soon be revealed. Whispers of human rays the Emperor sent shockwaves to the Empire and beyond. The day arrived when the galaxy's eyes turned toward the Emperor's court. The council gathered, dignitaries held their breath, and across star systems, citizens awaited the moment that could change everything. Zarin stood tall, ready to face the revelation. The truth would come out, and with it, a new chapter for the galaxy. Would they accept him as their leader, a symbol of change born from a forgotten planet? Or would fear and hatred tear apart everything he had built? As the doors opened and the first images of Earth's lost child appeared for all to see, the galaxy held its breath. The game was far from over, but the stage was set for a battle unlike any before. Zarin's true identity was about to be known, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy held its breath as the truth began to unravel. Zarin, the emperor who had risen from the shadows, was not just an alien ruler. He was a child of Earth, a human stolen from a small blue planet that many had long forgotten or labeled dangerous. This revelation struck the Empire like a sudden storm, shaking the foundations of centuries-old power. Inside his private quarters, Zarin sat quietly, the weight of his past pressing heavily on his heart. Memories from Earth flooded his mind. His mother's gentle smile, the sound of rain on the roof of their humble home, his father's firm but loving voice teaching him right from wrong. Those moments of peace and love felt like distant stars now, but they were the core of who he was. His family had lived a simple life, filled with small joys and great struggles. They were not heroes or warriors, but ordinary people who loved deeply. Zarin remembered the night his life changed forever, the night the alien ship came, silent and swift, and took him away. He remembered his mother's tears and his father's desperate prayers, hopes that their child would be safe, even the cold hands of strangers. But the Empire did not see these memories. To many, Earth was a threat, a world of chaos and rebellion. Zarin's revelation tore through the alien courts like wildfire. Some called him a traitor, a dangerous anomaly unfit to rule. Others saw a symbol of hope, proof that even the most unlikely could rise and change destiny. Debates erupted in the great halls of the Empire. The council members shouted over one another, some demanding his removal, others pleading for peace. Rumors spread like wildfire. Whispers of the Emperor was hiding more secrets, that his mission was far greater than anyone could imagine. Zarin listened to the chaos outside his chambers, but kept his focus steady. He knew the time had come to reveal his true purpose, the mission that had been buried deep within his heart since he was a child. This was not just about power or revenge. It was about justice, about reclaiming a future stolen from countless innocent lives across the galaxy. He stood before his closest allies, his voice calm but firm. "I was taken from Earth not just to survive, but to carry a message. We cannot live in fear of the past or the unknown. We must choose who we want to be. I choose peace. I choose unity. But if we are forced to fight for it, then fight we shall." His words sparked a new fire. Some rallied behind him with renewed strength, ready to follow him into battle for a better galaxy. Others plotted in silence, unwilling to surrender the power they had long held. As preparations began for the coming conflict, Zarin felt the weight of every life resting on his shoulders. This battle would decide more than the fate of an empire. It would decide the future of every star system touched by war and fear. He looked out at the stars from the palace window, a silent promise in his heart. No matter what happened next, he would fight for the truth, for his home, and for those who had been lost. The galaxy was ready for war, and Zarin was ready to lead it into the unknown. The battle was coming, and he would face it with the courage of the child stolen from Earth and the strength of the emperor he had become. The stars shone brightly over a familiar blue planet as Zarin, once a stolen child, now an emperor, finally returned to Earth. The journey back was long and filled with uncertainty, but his heart beat with hope. He carried not just the power of an alien empire, but the dreams of his forgotten home. Earth was his beginning, and he hoped his new future. As his ship descended to the thin atmosphere, memories flooded his mind. Simple moments from his childhood, the laughter of children playing in fields, the warmth of family dinners, and the quiet nights when the world seemed peaceful. These memories were fragile yet powerful, the last threads tying him to a world that seemed so distant now. On the ground, the world had changed. Cities rose like giants, glowing under artificial lights, while forests and rivers still whispered stories of the past. Zarin felt a deep sadness for the wounds Earth had suffered, wars, neglect, and fear that had separated people more than ever. But he also saw resilience, the stubborn will of life to survive and grow. Zarin stepped out of his ship with cautious hope. His mission was not just to reclaim his place, but to unite two worlds that had long seen each other as enemies. He knew it would be difficult. Aliens feared humans, and humans feared aliens. But he believed in something greater, the power of understanding. He reached out to leaders of both sides, speaking in calm, firm tones. He shared stories from his childhood, stories of Earth's kindness, courage, and beauty. He reminded everyone that fear was a real enemy, the force that had divided the galaxy for so long. Slowly, some listened, some hearts softened, but not everyone was ready for peace. From the shadows, a powerful enemy watched Zarin's every move. This foe, a ruler from a distant system, saw Zarin's mission as a threat to their power. They sent spies, sabotage, and warriors to stop him. The battle was not just for territory, but for the very soul of the galaxy. Zarin prepared for the fight that could decide everything. He gathered allies, humans and aliens alike, those who believed in a future without war. The final battle was near, and with every passing moment, tension grew. Time was slipping through their fingers like sand. As the enemy's forces advanced, Zarin's mind returned to faces of those he loved and lost. He felt their strength in his veins. He knew this fight was more than physical. It was a fight to protect hope itself. The battle raged across skies and stars, explosions lighting up the darkness like fireworks of desperation and courage. Zarin moved through the chaos, leading with heart and strategy. He faced his enemy directly, a confrontation charged with years of pain and dreams. In the end, victory came at a cost. Many brave souls were lost, but the message was clear. Unity was possible. The galaxy could heal, but only if it remembered the stories of every race, every life, every struggle. With the battle over, Zarin stood before the gathered crowd, humans and aliens, friends and former foes. His voice echoed across the planet and beyond, reaching every corner of space. We are not just different races. We are not enemies bound by fear. We are one story, one galaxy, one future. Our strength lies in our unity, in the hope that tomorrow will be better than today. As his words faded into the night, Zarin looked up at the stars, knowing the journey was far from over. But for the first time in a long time, he believed the galaxy could remember its true path. He was no longer just a stolen child. He was the emperor who returned, not to conquer, but to heal. The story was only beginning.